The Sikh tradition began 500 years ago in the Punjab region of South Asia, now divided between India and Pakistan. This beginning is firmly tied to Nanak, born in 1469 Common Era and referred to as Guru Nanak by his followers. Sikh means disciple or student or learner, while Guru in this context means spiritual teacher or spiritual guide. In his lifetime, Nanak composed hundreds of poetic verses containing spiritual and ethical guidance. These were written down and have been reliably preserved, now forming part of the core Sikh sacred text, referred to by followers as the Guru Saab. Nanak had 9 human successors, each of whom used the signature Nanak in their own writings. Contemporary verses by bards in the Sikh community that are included in the Guru Saab indicate that this was seen as a continuity of spirit or light, the same divine inspiration that was in Nanak. For Sikhs, the Guru Saab, through its teachings, is the eternal carrier of the spirit of Guru Nanak and his human successors. A complementary if somewhat less salient tradition is that the initiates of the Khalsa order, created by the 10th and last human Guru, Guru Gobind Singh, collectively represent the body of the Guru, in Punjabi, the Guru Panth. The presence of the Guru Saab in physical form, as a handwritten or printed volume, creates a sacred space. This may be a permanent building, a dedicated room in an individual residence, or a room that is temporarily prepared for that role. The building or permanent room is called a Gurdwara, meaning Guru's door, sometimes with the honorific of Sahib added. Sikhs follow a detailed set of protocols with respect to respectful treatment of the Guru Saab, including its position, typically raised in some way, protection, and the behavior of those who are in its presence. Sikh worship consists of reciting and singing from the Guru Saab and saying prayers addressed to a sole supreme divine being. In this video, there is no specific question that is answered, but the goal is to give an integrated overview of the ecology of Sikh sacred spaces, including how physical elements reflect Sikh understanding of their history, their values, and symbolic meanings, and how actions within those spaces carry out these values and meanings. The term Gurdwara may also refer to a complex of buildings. In those cases, the main building in which the Guru Saab is present is termed the Darbar, meaning royal court, reflecting a strong Sikh tradition of recognizing a kind of sovereignty in the Sikh Gurus and their teachings. In English, the reference may be to the Darbar Hall, with Diwan Hall another common term. Here, Diwan refers to having an audience with a ruler, and in this case the worship congregation has a Diwan with the Guru in the Guru's Darbar. In the case of the Sikh tradition's central sacred site, what is commonly called the Golden Temple in the Anglophone West, a term preferred by many Sikhs for the complex's central building is Darbar Saab. In Punjabi and in Sikh usage as found in the Guru Saab, the worship congregation is termed the Sangat. Sikh teachings emphasize equal access to spiritual guidance, solace, and possibilities of connection to the divine. And this is reflected in seating patterns where members of the Sangat are equals and sit without social distinctions. Members of the Sangat sit facing the Guru Saab, typically at floor level lower than the Guru. There is often some division of sitting space according to gender, but this is not observed rigidly or in all contexts. Someone reading or singing from the Guru Granth Sahib will sit behind and facing the Guru, or to its side, facing the Sangat. Wherever possible, Gurdwaras will have entrances on multiple sides, signifying openness and inclusiveness. The position of the Guru Granth Sahib in the Diwan Hall will often allow devotees to walk around the Guru before sitting down, also signifying openness. Entry to the Diwan Hall or to the entire Gurdwara complex will involve removing shoes, sometimes socks also, and covering one's head in an appropriate manner. The entry sequence includes bowing to the Guru and making an offering, and may also include bowing at the entrance door, receiving sanctified food called Kadha Prasad, making an offering to devotional singers, and circling the Guru. In some cases, the Kadha Prasad and offerings to the Guru are made at separate times or locations, within or outside the Diwan Hall. A core component of Sikh worship is commensality or the sharing of food. This practice is called langar, and the same term may denote the location, including a kitchen area, though langar hall is also used for greater specificity. The food is sanctified and in traditional settings will be served in an area where the congregation cover their heads and do not wear shoes. Also, a strong Sikh tradition is one of sitting in lines on the floor, enacting social equality in this setting as well. The term for this seating arrangement with its symbolic implication is Pangat, linguistically pairing it with the term Sangat. Gurdwaras will typically have a triangular flag, the Nishan Saab, on a pole outside the main building and somewhere in the complex. The Nishan Saab consists of a blue symbol of the Sikh tradition, the Kanda, on a golden background. Here, Kanda refers to the composition of two curved blades circling a two-edged short sword. The Nishan Saab is also considered sacred, signifying the historical sacrifices made by Sikhs, and many Sikh visitors will bow to it. Historical Gurdwaras may also display objects such as clothes or weapons of the Sikh Gurus, and these are also treated as sacred or worthy of veneration. Early Sikh sacred sites, especially during the time of the human Gurus, accommodated long-distance travelers. They were known as dharamsalas, a more generic term for places of rest for travelers. Guru Amar Das, Nanak's second successor, had a stepwell dug at Goindwal, where he resided as leader of the Sikh Panth, to provide water for drinking and bathing for devotees and travelers of any persuasion. Subsequently, a large rectangular pool or sarovar was dug by Guru Ram Das, who succeeded Guru Amar Das, as part of the complex now best known as the Golden Temple, in the town now called Amritsar. Several historically important Gurdwaras in Punjab have sarovars in their grounds. These pools and wells also have sacred meaning for Sikhs beyond any pragmatic origins, and bathing in them is an act of merit for many Sikhs. Among core Sikh values is the ideal of Seva, or selfless service. Sikh sacred spaces provide numerous opportunities for Seva. These include volunteering in the langar, in food preparation, service, and cleanup, cleaning of various areas of the Gurdwara complex, and helping in removing sediment in periodic cleanings of sacred pools. In India, where theft of shoes can be a problem, Seva includes volunteering in areas where visitors can check their shoes. Since shoes are considered particularly unclean in South Asian cultural contexts, handling shoes is an act of great humility. A common or traditional architecture for Gurdwaras includes a central dome and cupolas with smaller domes at the corners of the main building. Arches and balconies are common, as are multiple doorways. Many of these components are adaptations of the regional architecture of the period, which includes Persian, Central Asian, and Islamic elements. The Darbar Sahib is unique in being in the middle of its sarovar with a long causeway. It is lower than the walkway surrounding the pool to signify humility. In other locations, gurdwaras may have greater verticality, including more stories and taller domes. Marble is a common building material, while gold leaf embellishments have become more common in recent years. Punjab and the surrounding region are full of sites that have historical significance in the Sikh tradition, and gurdwaras can be found marking various kinds of events. The birth, death, or cremation of various Sikh gurus, including a public execution of Guru Tegh Bahadur, the ninth human guru, the site of the creation of the Khalsa, and other sites of sacrifice, martyrdom, or battle. Sites where individual gurus spent significant portions of time or where specific events took place, including those involving other revered Sikh historical figures. And sites which are associated with stories of the lives of the gurus, particularly Guru Nanak, which may not be historically confirmed or may involve miraculous elements from the stories. In some cases, sites may be associated with multiple events over a period of time, and each gurdwara will have its own distinct identity and name. For example, the Darbar Saab complex has about 8 or 9 different gurdwaras in addition to the Darbar Saab itself. In some cases, memorials are constructed which may not have the same sanctity as a gurdwara but carry significant meanings for many Sikhs. Many historical gurdwaras and some others will also have museums in dedicated rooms which provide paintings of Sikh history along with explanatory material focusing on the lives of the Sikh gurus, their teachings, and examples of struggle and sacrifice. At Anandpur Sahib, where the Khalsa was created, an enormous heritage complex was built to mark the 300th anniversary of that event, and it stands out from all other Sikh museums in scale and design. In the Guru Granth Sahib, verses of the bards praise the spiritual sovereignty of Guru Nanak and his successors. These verses were composed before the death of the 5th Sikh Guru, Arjan, by torture in Mughal custody. After that event, the Sikh Gurus asserted temporal sovereignty, and Guru Hargobind, Arjan's son and successor, had the Akal Takht built on the perimeter of the Sarovar surrounding the Darbar Sahib. Akal Takht translates as Eternal Throne or Throne of the Eternal One, and represents an assertion of temporal sovereignty in opposition to tyranny. Its architecture reflects some of these differences in meaning, and other historical gurdwaras built subsequently have similar styles. Sikh sacred sites have always been locations of resources for the community as well as for others in need. The langar, like the Diwan Hall, has historically been open to everyone from its inception as a Sikh institution. Providing free lodging to travelers or to others in temporary need has also been a foundational part of the Sikh concept of sacred sites. Libraries of historical manuscripts can be found in some historical gurdwaras, and other gurdwaras may also have libraries. Medical clinics have also become increasingly common in various gurdwaras, and Sunday schools to impart religious education have also increased in certain contexts. The Sikh community encompasses sufficient diversity, including some distinct or heterodox sects, such as the Nirankaris and Namdharis, to the point where gurdwaras reflect this heterogeneity. Where there are major doctrinal differences, completely separate worship sites are to be expected. In other cases, there may be subgroups led by charismatic leaders which maintain their own gurdwaras. In some circumstances, caste and social class are determinants of divisions in Sikh congregations. In a few special cases, different historical interpretations lead to a divergence in the sacred core, with another volume of sacred importance, the Dasam Granth, being accorded similar status to the Guru Granth Sahib. Sikh traders and merchants could be found in many parts of South Asia in the 16th and 17th centuries, and gurdwaras of some form likely existed in some of these locations. There is evidence that the Sikh sacred text was copied and sent to geographically dispersed sangats from the main Sikh center soon after its compilation in 1606 Common Era. More significantly, Sikhs under the British Empire began to migrate to multiple locations in Asia and North America starting in the late 19th century. Sikhs were eager to establish gurdwaras as quickly as possible wherever they established a sufficient presence, and the first gurdwaras in the United Kingdom, Canada, and the United States all were established by 1912 or earlier. These gurdwaras served as community centers for all South Asians and sometimes as sites of political organization against British imperialism. Gurdwaras can be found in every location where Sikhs have settled. If they are purpose-built, they are often an amalgam of architectural elements from the host country as well as from Punjab's own Sikh gurdwaras. In some cases, churches or other buildings may be bought and adapted to serve as gurdwaras. In Adelaide, Australia, a local landmark building was bought and is now a gurdwara representing an integration of local history and Sikh sacred practices. In some locations, the architectural choices for new buildings, including building materials as well as designs, are heavily influenced by the host context. Many recent diaspora gurdwaras incorporate strong elements of community service in areas such as heritage education to ensure transmission to the second and third generations. Political concerns tied to events in Punjab also have a presence in many diaspora gurdwaras. Two aspects of globalization affect the use of Sikh sacred spaces of historical importance. Members of the Sikh diaspora will visit many sites to reconnect or to connect their children with the community's heritage. This is a source of revenue for Sikh gurdwaras, but it can be distortionary when architectural decisions are made which conflict with heritage preservation. A different issue arises when pure tourism, the Golden Temple, and to a lesser extent the Bangla Sahib Gurdwara in Delhi, have become sites of visits by guided tour groups, diminishing the character of the site as a place to find a spiritual connection and the meaning of the sacred. Those governing these sites have tried to stop touristic behaviors such as photography inside the Diwan Hall and videos with self-commentary, but the sheer number of visitors also changes the nature of the site. Sikh sacred sites are centered on collective worship based on the teachings of the Sikh Gurus. This worship includes not only listening and singing, but also eating together and performing a range of acts of service within these sites. Connecting with the history of their community is also a core part of the Sikh experience in sacred sites that are locations of historical events, especially those that mark struggle and sacrifice. The spatial and physical elements of Sikh sacred sites can be understood as combining devotion to a sole divine being, ethical action, and the Gurus as guides for both.